Hello everybody, hope you're doing really well. Today I'm in Gravesend. Standing behind me is actually Gravesend Church. But what we're about to see is something that nobody outside of the landlord and the people who work there have seen before, ever. What I'm about to show you is an air raid shelter in the centre of Gravesend High Street. And it was a really important one because it was converted from a cellar into a purpose-built air raid shelter. Now the site is a good size, so we're going to spend a bit of time in there documenting it. I just want to say a massive thank you before I even start to the owner who's given me special permission to film in there. So what you're about to see has never been seen before. How cool is that? So yes, for all of you out there, there are many air raid shelters in Gravesend High Street. However, some of them have now been completely repurposed, completely, some of them actually have even been bricked up and completely sealed forever in time. This one, however, though, and wow, what a good one to do, is in incredible condition. And I'm going to take you along with me, of course I am. You're gonna watch it. We're going to discuss it, and because it is a private one, that means obviously special rules and everything else have had to be taken place to obviously make sure that we can do the best job possible to document it for not only this channel but for everybody around, and it's more importantly for Gravesend itself. So without further ado, this is, I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm so excited, this is the public air raid shelter in Gravesend High Street. Enjoy it, you're gonna love it. Let's go explore. Come on. We're here, look at this. The door has been opened kindly for me. We're about to go in. I'm not joking you, we've had a wonderful tour around already. And this is amazing, absolutely amazing. So let's look at this air raid shelter. I want to try and do this as a documentation for the sheer fact that this probably will never be documented again in a historical record like this. So we want to take our time today. Obviously you can see the door frame, very narrow door. Again, used as storage, but then here we go. Look at this, nice little staircase. Originally, again, a lot of this converted to make sure that it was safe to use as an air raid shelter, or relatively safe. And as you walk down this little basement here, look at this. Wow. The smiley face on the door. And then I wonder if we can just quickly, there you go, look at that. Now luckily for me, before I show you the main event, luckily for me, on one of these wonderful, this wonderful opportunity that I've had today, we don't need a torch, so we're good today. You're going to see everything very clearly. So let's have a look down. Come on in. So here we are inside the basement, and the noises from the shops upstairs. It's just quite an incredible experience to be down here. Now, all of this that you can see, the first thing you're greeted with is what they'd converted into during World War II. They reckon it started right at the start of World War II, so in 1939 into 1940, roughly dated. And in everything you can see, pretty much looking upwards, so you can see the corrugated sheets here. That was an addition. And this is where it just gets a bit crazy. So what you're seeing now is an air raid shelter, a converted air raid shelter. Now, what's really interesting about this, it's kind of weird because we're talking about air raid shelters, but we're also talking about what this also was used for as well. So, hang on a minute. I'll come back to that. You can't see that at the moment. I didn't realise how dark that was in there. You can see these. Now, at one stage in life, this place was a pub. And what you're looking at is basically some channels that probably would have been used as sort of storing of alcohol, etc., etc. Quite possible. But they make for, again, if you're here in World War II as a shelter, it's not going to be the most pleasant experience ever. And again, if you ignore the running upstairs of people who are working here, it's kind of crazy. So let's have a look in here, and you can see some graffiti. But look at this. This is just crazy, isn't it? Luckily my little torch is holding out. If I move the torch away, you can see actually how dark this is. And this runs right underneath a footpath. So all of that little section there runs under a footpath. Let's just go back to this room and then I'm going to show you around the rest of it. So you can see it's full and full of cobwebs. Again, this place, without giving away too much, was also, like I said, it was a pub. It had multiple uses in different stages of its life, and it's a very, very old building, even obviously from the top down. And you can see here, even this frame here, look at that. Clearly used for some sort of storage, we can assume. But all of these joists and everything else that you can see potentially would have been used to reinforce via World War II to help it. And then what we find is that, so if I'm pointing out, I've walked through there, again, sorry, there's a torch. I walked through there, and then you come all the way through, and then you're greeted here with another section. Now, again, there's not much to say on this, but this is all just incredible bits of history that you can imagine in World War II, how important this would have been. Now, I want to stress in this video as well that this was labelled as a public air raid shelter. So by labelling it as a public air raid shelter, it wasn't just for the businesses that operated above. It was for the general public around, based around into the high street. Now, Gravesend High Street is dotted with similar places like this. However, from what I know is that the scale of this air raid shelter is quite significant. And more importantly, from the records that I've looked at, this is one of the only air raid shelters that was purposely made safer for the threat of it being potentially slightly unstable, just in case the bombs were falling nearby. So again, this has been repurposed. And it's just amazing. All the bricks, you can see, look at this. Even as history predating World War II, it's just a stunning bit of building. I mean, it really, really is. You've got different mouldings of bricks as well. So this originally, I was told, potentially would have backed off even further into the adjacent buildings that are lying above us. But what an incredible place. the unnerving sounds of children above us, it's quite scary really, because it's sort of like, wow, okay. Because in a strange way, you can imagine in World War II, these families that were congregating down here, hearing those similar noises of babies crying and parents desperately trying to sort of reassure them that everything was going to be okay as the German bombs were flying way overhead. It's absolutely amazing to think of how dangerous and crazy that is. Now, let's take a look in this. We'll take a look in this one. So, here we go. Oh, look at this. Wow. Okay, look at that. So this again, we're right underneath a footpath. Right underneath a footpath. Can you imagine that? There's people currently, oh sorry. There's people as we speak currently walking above us. That's so crazy. You can see that there's some debris here where they've obviously trying to clear it up a little bit. But you can see these red bricks, the original colour of the red here. Isn't that amazing? I'm so blown away by this place. It really is just such a spectacular honour. The graffiti, I'm assuming from people who have originally probably been working in the buildings above. But yeah. I can't tell you how crazy this is to do this. It really is spectacular. What I want to do is work our way back one more time and give you another detailed run through of this place. So these are the steps. Now this wall here, we probably assume might have been this was obviously to do with the air raid shelter. So again, they'd reinforce this wall to use. So, and this is the only way in and the only way out. And this tiny door. And you're walking through here as the sound of the sirens are going off. You're coming down these steps, very narrow steps. Opening this door. The door might have already been open, who knows. And then you come into this. And it's just mind-blowing. This cellar. Like I said, everything that you can see. It hasn't actually been... what's really amazing about this whole place here is it's hardly changed that much. I mean, the only thing you've got to really imagine is that some of the walls might have been different. So like as we said, as we walked through here, originally it was theorised that this wall would have been backed off onto, and then also, I didn't actually mention this probably would have gone extended as well as a sort of cellar. And yeah, look at this. But obviously the interestingness of the steps. And obviously people would have been in here. These bombs would have been raining overhead. It's just incredible. What a sight. But you've got to imagine as well that Gravesend High Street was, you know, it didn't really have a big air raid shelter to its name. Like we said before, really the place you'd have to go to would be Northfleet, where we had the hill which was underneath, which are former tram tunnels, because Henley's air raid shelter, the big one, was only really used for the workers. And then again, as you go through, there's more and more quarry tunnels that were formerly converted into air raid shelters. You've seen a lot of those on my videos actually, but to actually be in the centre of Gravesend and know that this is here and this existed, and it was clearly defined as an air raid shelter. So what I'd like to do is, if I can just sort of share with you something that I'd found on here, because I think it's always important to sort of clarify this. I wrote it down, so I don't normally do this, but I wrote this down to make sure that I got it specifically right for you. So hang on a minute. This is quite interesting. I'm actually reading it off. This is old school. Do you remember that? Like when I used to do these videos and I used to do stuff like this, just to make sure I got it right. It says its design and form are unknown, but it was probably located within the basement, which we are of this shop. We're talking about its air raid shelter. And it was strutted with timber and steel to increase. So as we know, what we're looking at, these beams and everything else, World War II. to increase its resilience, and it was first noted as to be in existence in 1942 for everybody to be used. But it would have originated even earlier than that. So probably what they said was, look, we've got an air raid shelter that we've just converted. Do you want to come down here in one of the meetings? And it was decommissioned literally at the end of World War II, so 1945. So the fact that this has been labelled in the heritage records for Gravesend, as with many of these other air raid shelters, the fact that it gives you that perspective of saying this probably started in 1939 as being used as an air raid shelter, but around about 1942 they'd suggested that this place was open for other people to potentially use to make it a proper public air raid shelter. Makes it so incredible, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm now in the main hub. Obviously it's a bit dark. There's not actually many places to put my camera, I've just realised. It's huge. It's really quite a substantial place, this. Okay, so I think we've covered it all. I think we've done the best possible thing we can do to record this as an air raid shelter. Like we said before, it's gone through many phases of history, but today we're focusing this on being an air raid shelter for the sheer purpose that it just proves to all of you out there who are interested in heritage and history that when you hear stories about air raid shelters in high streets and stuff, under basements, there is no, and I seriously mean this when I say this, there is no better example than the one that I'm in today for its size, for its scale, for its purpose, for the fact that you can see it's World War II history still here. It's just incredible. And you can imagine, like I said, the families that were in here. It's sad, but it's also poignant at the same time. That for most people, yes, this is a cellar, this is a basement, could have been anyone, anywhere in the world. But the fact that this has been well documented as being an air raid shelter for a specific purpose to protect people from those German bombs as they were going overhead really signifies this as just something a little bit more special. There we go. Right, let's head outside and we can debrief. How about that? Does that sound cool? Let's go. Wow. Hello everybody, not your standard outro, I understand. Normally I fade into the distance, but today I want to do a very special outro, which is obviously a massive thank you to the landlord for giving me access into that wonderful air raid shelter / basement. More importantly, I've got to take all of you along with me, and we got to see it. We got to really hopefully experience it for what it was. And obviously, like I said, the different phasing that is within that cellar is just mind-blowing alone. But like as we said today, in this video we wanted to concentrate solely on its World War II past. Wow, I am going to remember this one for a very long time, and yeah, I'm so excited by it. So thank you as always for watching. Thank you as always for staying with me and supporting the channel. Really heartfelt, means a lot from the bottom of my heart. And yeah, in the immortal words of Phoenix History, because history matters, take care everybody, and I'll see y'all very soon. Goodbye for now.